When I was young, I wanted to save the world from all illness, and I thought I'd learn how to heal myself, then tell everyone else how to do it. That desire to find out how to heal myself is still work in progress, but I have had many opportunities to see if my inner work bore fruit. Well, I'm still here, but I cannot pretend that I really know. However, I mention it because I believe I am not, in our time, nor in previous times, the only one who values the concept of each human having the power to heal themselves, or at least be able to heal others with a kind of certainty. Magical, miraculous healing is a very desirable power, which so far has belonged to gods, great magicians, prophets, saviours. But if gods can have it, and we are made in their image, then we must have it somewhere. And if human saviours have this power, we again must have that capacity too. The desire to find and harness this useful power cannot just be mine. In fact, the very presence of the CADUCEUS and Asclepius' staff show me categorically that this ability was believed attainable and sought after in times gone by. The caduceus is a mysterious symbol that has been found on ancient artifacts 4,000 years old, and it has been kept alive through occult texts. The caduceus has been handed down because it has a mystical significance, not merely because Mercury once stopped a fight between two snakes by throwing his staff at them, and then the snakes jumped and entwined themselves around the staff. Not likely. And would that be worth keeping a symbol alive for 4,000 years? Some say it's because the ancients looked on the snake as a symbol of health and healing, because it could shed and regenerate its skin, and so the caduceus could be a reminder to exfoliate? No. The caduceus has far greater significance than mere skin-deep reminders. For those of you who are a little fuzzy, the caduceus is a staff with two snakes entwined around it and symbolises magic and healing, while Asclepius' staff has only one snake and symbolises just healing. Therefore, two snakes symbolise magic and healing, and one snake symbolises just healing. I interpret magic in this context as healing the soul so it can reflect its perfection. Asclepius was a man who was so good at healing people that the gods killed him. Then Zeus felt a bit bad and made him a god. Many years later, in our aeon, Asclepius is a man who was the student of Hermes Trismegistus. Hermes Trismegistus is the name of the two gods, Hermes and Thoth, rolled into one. Thoth, like Asclepius, was also a man. He was a priest. Some say there were many priests called Thoth. Divinity and humanity, healing and magic are brought together in staffs with snakes entwined around them. Interestingly, the symbol of the caduceus is shared by at least 4 cultures at different times and belongs to the same kind of God principle in these various cultures. The God principle that shares the caduceus around the world is that of the healing messenger. These messengers all had the ability to heal, to communicate with the highest, most divine nature, as well as to communicate with the furthest, darkest god of another world, and all those beings in between, including humans. Ningishzida, Hermes, Mercury, Thoth and Ratatoska are 5 messenger gods from different cultures and times. Only Ratatoska doesn't have a caduceus-like symbol or healing skills, but Ratatoska has exemplified qualities of a messenger and a mind of his own. Ratatoska is a Norse god. He is a squirrel who lives in the world tree. He tells tales and passes all sorts of messages between the great eagle at the top and the grumpy dragon at the roots. And like the other messenger gods, Ratatoska is mischievous and plays the trickster at times. However, of the messenger gods who exemplify healing, the most ancient of these is Thoth. Thoth gets status in Egypt from 6000 BC. Thoth is credited with creating writing, medicine, and magic. He is depicted as a man with an ibis head. The ibis is a bird with a sharp crescent moon-like beak. Thoth carries the Ankh, which is called the key to eternity, and he is said to have created himself from one of his words. Thoth was known as the one who made calculations concerning the heavens, the stars, and the earth, the reckoner of time and of seasons, and the one who measured out the heavens and planned the earth. These epithets resonate with astrology, which, as we shall see, is linked with these messenger gods. Next is Ningish Zaida, who is 4,000 years old and had god status in Assyria. Ningish Zaida was considered lord of the good tree. The tree links Ningish Zaida with Ratatoska. Ningish Zaida was the god of vegetation and the underworld. Ningish Zaida is given rulership over health. Ningish Zaida's symbol is a staff with two snakes entwined around it, a CADUCEUS. And last but not least are Hermes and Mercury. Hermes is Greek and Mercury is Roman. They both stand as messengers of the gods, and they are both credited with healing, communication, magic, trickery, and guiding souls to the underworld. Mercury carries the simplified version of a CADUCEUS, and Hermes carries the more expressive version. In astrology and astronomy, Mercury symbolizes the planet closest to the Sun. Astrology takes the characteristics of Hermes, Mercury, Thoth and personifies them in the horoscope. Astrologically, Mercury is the planet that inspires communication, messages, and all sorts of commerce. Mercury retrogrades 3 times in about a year. The 3 times let us call strands. Mercury retrograde has like 3 strands, 3 ribbons tied to the motion of the planet Mercury, as if the planet was the head and the ribbons would make a plait. Each retrograde ribbon goes by the principle of rising, falling, or staying the same for 7 years. And then each principle changes to rising, falling, or staying the same, and so on every 7 years. By 21 years, Mercury retrograde pattern begins again. So each strand has 3 phases that last 7 years each, decreasing, increasing, unvarying. And the strands interlock over the years. This beautiful pattern can be simplified by 3 separate lines. First, you have a strand that stays even for 7 years, and one that rises for 7 years. And the third is decreasing for 7 years. Then one strand goes straight for 7 years, one increases, and one decreases, and so on, and on, until you turn it vertically and get a perfect caducean pattern. Therefore, the caduceus shows quite clearly and simply the time to practice healing and magical thinking. However, it also begs the question how to practice magical thinking and healing. And so I propose, during Mercury retrograde, it would be an idea to conjure the image of the caduceus and let the image of the caduceus guide you to how.